Yes, this is John G. Sutton, and welcome to Tales from the Jails. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about race relations in the prisons and, the clash between people who are not white Caucasians like myself and are members of other racial groups. I started in 1975 at Strangeways, and after the training school, because I did a pre-course at Strangeways, and initially I didn't notice that there was any kind of racial tension because I wasn't really in the thick of it. But following my experience at the training school, there were no people of ethnic minority groups there. It was absolutely 100%, white Caucasian males like myself. And I was posted from the training school at Ley Hill, which is down towards Bristol way. I was posted from there to HM Prison Wormwood Scrubs. And I hadn't been in Wormwood Scrubs very long working. I was posted onto C Wing, which is the biggest wing in Europe at the time, with C2 landing where I worked being the biggest single landing. It held over 200 inmates on one landing, and a number of these were ethnic minority groups. But there were one specific group of prisoners, inmates, that were racially prejudiced. No, I wasn't racially prejudiced. I'm not. But seriously, I'm not. But this group was. I think they were West Indian, from Jamaica or something like that. And they used to shout abuse at you, and they'd come up to you, intimidate, or attempting to intimidate you. Say things like, "Now listen, I don't know if you understand this language. I personally didn't. They were saying to me things like, "You rasclat," and "You're just a bummerclat." Well, I don't know what that meant. Obviously, just to them, in their West Indian patois, it meant something, but it didn't mean anything to me. But it obviously did to them, and I found that they were extremely unwilling to cooperate. They did things on their terms, which is all well and good, except if you've got 200 prisoners that need to be watered, fed, bathed, toileted, counted and locked up. It needs cooperation. If 200 people say, we ain't taking part in that, you're going to have a great deal of difficulty, because there were only effectively 4 staff to 200 inmates. The other member of staff was in the wing, the landing office. He was sorting out all the details and the mail and everything else that come in. So really there were 5 of us, only 4 of us actively out there on the landings. And if people want to be disruptive, then it's going to disrupt not just a little bit, but for everybody. So you will try to be reasonable with them and say, listen, this is difficulty enough without you making it any worse. All I'm trying to do is make sure that you get your breakfast, your dinner, your tea, and you get a little supper. And in the meantime, you're in there, you're counted, and you're safe. That's all you got to do. It's for your safety. But if you start playing up, then everybody's in danger, because I won't be left with any choice but to call for some assistance to deal with you. And who wants to play that game? Dragging people down landings and throwing them into strip cells. And listen, you don't want to be doing that. You hear these stories about jailers like, I don't mind doing that, I'll give them a smack. You come in the work at 7 o'clock in the morning. 7 o'clock in the morning, you're on the landing with the keys, yeah? You could tell me you're quite happy to go throwing your weight around and bashing inmates for 12, 14 hours a day. How are you going to keep it up? You can't do it. And think of all the stress and all the pressure that you're putting on yourself. It's much easier to be reasonable, I thought. I found that anyway. But there was a degree of racial tension at the scrubs that I found there right from the start. And honestly, it didn't come from the staff. It came from certain ethnic minority groups who decided that they weren't going to accept the authority of the prison officers who were basically just looking after them. That's all you were doing. You were trying to get them through the day. One or two had special needs that you took, and one or two had real talents. There were a group on C2 landing that were travellers. I haven't got anything against travellers. I think they've got a problem because a lot of the travellers are brought up not to read and write. And these, I think there were three of them that had been found guilty of murder. That collectively, they'd done it between them. They were enforcing debts. You know, they were big lads, you know. But the way they enforced debts was nail people to the ground and pour petrol over them and set them on fire. Of course, it got out of hand, you know, and people had been killed. And these lads didn't. They just did what they were told, you know. And I said, listen, you're not in here forever. They were about age of 20, 25, you know, 25-ish. The mid-20s, really. Between them, up to the age of about 30, you know. They were brothers, you know. Anyway, I said, listen, you're going to come out of here. And when you come out, you want to be ready for society. Get into society and make a life for yourself. And I'll teach you how to read and write. I'll help you, you know. So I tried to get them involved with the education department. I got some books from the education. Janet and John, I mean, didn't have any adult educational books for that. We had to start right at the beginning. A is for apple, B is for ball, C is for jailer. Oh, something like that anyway. Yeah. But basically we started at that and they were starting to learn. And after about a month, maybe 6 weeks of this, they were really starting to get somewhere. They got one or two of them was the ones say, my brain hurts, my brain hurts. You know, well, so what? You know, get on with it, you know. Your brain doesn't hurt, lad. It might give you a bit of a headache, you know, but come on. Anyway, I was going about doing this, but I used to do it in the dinner hour, you know, instead of spending my dinner hour drinking tea or whatever it was. I used to come and spend half an hour with these three lads who were deliberately trying to really try, and we were getting somewhere. And I was about to do this one day, and this it was just before lockup, and this big fella come up to me and said, boss, he said, I don't want you to do this anymore. I said, I'm helping these lads, you know, learn them how to read and write, you know. I said, no. So they're not allowed to do that. No, don't do it. He was the head of the gypsies in the scrubs. He said, I appreciate you trying to help them, but you ain't helping them. They're not allowed to do it. They were not allowed to do it. They were not allowed to learn to read and write. That was the instructions from their gypsies. So despite the fact that I'd tried to help them, but they did teach me a little bit of traveller in return for me trying to teach them learn how to read and write, you know. Chevy Anya Jigger, Festa Jelen Mudderag. Chevy Anya Jigger means get behind your door, friend. The Festa Jelen Mudderag, that means the boss is coming and he's a bad man. I was at Strangeways, maybe about 3 years later, and this big rough gypsy with bits missing off him, you know, obviously being round a bit, you know. And he was on Strangeways and he wasn't listening to anything anybody said. And I said to him, hey, Chevy Anya Jigger, Festa Jelen Mudderag. He looked at me. How do you know? How do you know this? How do you know that? Yeah, I said, get behind your door. And after that, he was as sweet as a nut. You know, absolutely okay. A lot of the staff at Strangeways, though, they had this strange idea about racism. They were in the National Front, you know, and they had little curled flags, enamel things that they wore on the lapels, and they used to show these to the staff, you know, to the inmates. The staff would show them to the inmates. I don't think there was any real need for that. All it did was build up racial tension. You start building up tension in prison, and what's going to happen? Tell you what's going to happen. One day, they're going to turn around and rip the roof off, which they did at Strangeways. Anyway, that's little tales from the jails today about racism in the prison. Initially, it came from the scrubs when I was there. It wasn't the staff. It really wasn't, because the staff were all from all over the place, you know. There were Irishmen there, Welshmen, bloody Scotsmen, loads of staff from all over the place. And the inmates formed themselves into little cliques. And the problem was they were racially prejudiced. Listen, time passes. Tales from the Jails. Hope you enjoyed it. Get my book, Psychic Screw. It's on Amazon. Come on. Hey, if you've enjoyed this, do subscribe. Thank you very much.